Supply Chain Moves, the podcast by Move Supply Chain, where we dive into the real stories, real strategies, and real solutions powering DTC brands. I'm your host, Lara Guevara, CEO of Move, executive coach, and your go to guide for mastering supply chain. Today's episode is the one about navigating big shifts in supply chain. We've all seen it. The industry has changed dramatically from COVID disruptions to geopolitical tensions to trade wars. Supply chains are more dynamic than ever. And today, I'm joined by a supply chain expert, Claude Ganta, our operations director in Move. We're talking about what's changed, what we've learned, and what DTC brands should be doing now to stay ahead. Before anything else, I would just like to share that Claude and I worked together for a very long time in a company here in the Philippines, and now we're working again together. Claude, if you can share more about your experience so that people can learn more about you.
Yeah, thanks for having me in this podcast, Lara. Well, I've been in the supply chain industry for over a decade. I started my career in a third-party logistics in a multinational company as supply chain solutions analyst. And then later on, as I go along, I handled managerial position, leadership position, and then we worked together in human nature. And then after that, I handled executive position in a 3PL industry here in the Philippines. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
And I'm a mom of 3-year-old toddler and a happy one.
So let's start from the top. When we say big shift, what do we actually mean? Um, what are some of the most significant changes in the supply chain that you've witnessed in the past 5 to 10 years?
Okay. Lara, one of the biggest shifts I witnessed was during the COVID era. But even before that, in 2019, I attended a conference in Singapore called Home Delivery Asia. I remember clearly how the discussion forecasted that e-commerce and urbanization would dramatically reshape logistics in Asia within the next 5 years. I didn't expect it would accelerate just a year later. In 2020, I was in Human Heart Nature, Gandang Kalikasan, where we worked together when COVID first broke the news. The initial wave hit our domestic operations and community-based suppliers very hard. And I saw firsthand how vulnerable our fulfillment model was under lockdown. That experience shaped how I would later lead major supply chain transformations. By the time I joined Airspeed as Chief Supply Chain Officer, the need for agility was undeniable. Officer, with lockdowns, manpower limitations, congestion at ports, and volatility and transportation lead times. Many of our B2B and B2C clients had to pivot fast. What stood out was the sharp rise in demand for e-commerce fulfillment. We responded by setting up a dedicated e-fulfillment business unit that supported not just local but also international DTC brands entering the Philippine market. This meant implementing new warehouse processes, digital integration, and last mile partnership. We also experienced the shift from just in time to just in case firsthand. Clients suddenly wanted buffer stock, and we had to adjust racking, zone allocation, and receiving calendars accordingly. In some cases, the increase in inventory volume and e-commerce demand led us to acquire new facilities to accommodate the surge, the volume. The freight volatility also pushed us to reconsider packaging sizes and bundle configurations to protect margins while maximizing container capacity.
So for me, when I was in my first work after graduation as a purchasing officer in KFC, Tokyo and Mr. Donut, we had very simple supply chain disruptions at that time, like the rising cost of oil. Um, one of the biggest disruption I've encountered during that time, so that's 2009 onward. So was when cocoa powder was out of stock.
Oh, wow.
So our cocoa powder from Malaysia and other countries are out of stock, and then we have to go to Davao. So that was my first out of town trip as a supply chain purchasing, because Davao has been producing locally cocoa powders and we didn't know. So we're getting from we're importing and we have locally sourced. So from there, it's a huge shift from the disruption of COVID 2019, because at that time I was already in e-commerce. And the funny thing is, everything is coming from China. We
Yeah.
had Chinese New Year, so January, February, and then they had a long vacation for that CNY and they didn't come back. So that was like the second DTC brand that I supported, and it was like a different challenge for all of us. Like, how do we send out all our finished goods? How do we still continue to work with those vendors? We were really just unsure what's going to happen in the next few weeks or months. We keep asking the vendors, when are you coming back? When are you doing this? What are the shifts? But in between those situations, I also had experienced the first wave of Section 301, the tariff increase, which is a huge which has a huge impact to our DTC brand. So from there, it keeps on having like smaller shift, but definitely those were the biggest. And I think now what happened in the tariff lately was again the next one. It's just a good thing that our clients in Move Claude are not just US.
Yeah.
Right? We have UK, Australia, and other countries. How did those changes affect DTC brands in particular?
Well, DTC brands were hit hard because many relied on lean inventories and had minimal room for error. The delays exposed gaps in forecasting, fulfillment coordination, and customer service. The shift toward localized fulfillment became real, and those who adopted quickly saw improvements in conversion and repeat purchases. For international DTCs expanding into Southeast Asia, we had to become their ground support, offering everything from customs coordination to last mile dispatch under one umbrella. That's why we have Move. You established Move supply chain. And most importantly, we recognize the critical role of frontliners, from warehouse pickers to truck drivers, whose quick thinking and dedication allowed operations to continue despite restrictions. Their resilience and commitment were the backbone of many client success stories during this period. It was during the time that I also deeply realized how supply chain functions, often working quietly behind the scenes, are actually part of the country's essential services, from fulfilling hygiene essentials to keeping food and medicine moving. Our industry became a silent but critical pillar in national and even global resilience.
We actually experienced so many mistakes and challenges, but learned so much lessons during that time, right? When we were pushed to really be creative
Agreed.
on how to solve situations. I'm quite thankful that my area of expertise at that time is not as complicated as yours, Claude, because for me it's sourcing and new product development, and what happened at that time. So let's focus on COVID. What happened at that time is, globally we can find source because everyone is struggling. So it's not like it's a per country situation. I mean, in the beginning it's just China, but eventually it became a global situation, and it's like we were challenged to find solutions in sourcing, but we can only do so much.
Yeah.
But with the actual stocks that we have, the limited production, logistics will have to manage all of those. And given the lockdown, I cannot imagine how, like being a frontliner at the time, will it's very challenging, definitely.
Yeah, I'm literally having a goosebump right now looking back for those period. More than the logistics, the supply chain, of course, the health. That's the number one priority for our frontliners at time. Making sure that our people, the frontliners, has the protect the personal protective equipment, the PPEs, as they deliver our goods. Because during that time, I was with Human Nature, and we're part of FMCG. That company has the essential goods that need to be delivered to the consumers.
Mhm. As a very basic example, in my experience, I became very I had a huge fear during the pandemic. I didn't go out, and everything was ordered online, and everything is delivered. Even
Yeah.
grocery for me,
Yeah.
meat, all different kinds of products were delivered at
Mhm.
home.
Yeah.
And so without that,
Yeah.
right, it's like
Mm.
they were the frontliners who's trying to, of course, make a living and continue.
Mhm.
But definitely logistics is one of,
It's
for
part of the essentials.
yeah,
Yeah.
for me, they lifted the heaviest
Mm-hmm.
part during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we have a limited stocks, but we have to distribute.
Mm-hmm.
I remember having a limited stocks in masks, PPEs, other medicines, and
Mhm.
logistics has to. They don't have a choice, but they have to
Yeah.
deliver it. Remember the first round of vaccines were
Mhm.
also delivered in each
Yeah.
country. It's logistics
Yeah, and
was on that.
we have to figure out, the temperature controlled, how we are going to deliver vaccine without, jeopardizing the quality of the vaccines, and all the logistics company has to figure out how are we going to deliver the vaccine with temperature sensitivity. Those are a lot.
And yet, in e-commerce and DTC,
Mm-hmm.
logistics was the last priority of everyone. And
Yeah.
just to prove that, before Claude joined us February, we don't have logistics offering in Move. We have sourcing, we have inventory planning, but we didn't do anything in logistics and warehousing side, mainly because that's not my expertise and Glyza's expertise. Glyza's expertise is also in sourcing and new product development, and Venus' expertise is in inventory planning. Like,
Mhm.
no projects has started
Yeah.
before you join us. All right, so looking back, what were the hardest lessons you had to learn when it comes to supply chain, or that you saw your clients facing right now?
Yeah. I believe one of the toughest lesson is that agility beats perfection. We had plans, but disruptions required replanning. Often daily, I also learned that system adoption is only as strong as your people. No matter how good your tools are, if your team is not trained or empowered, execution will fail. Also, I saw how DTC brands who treated their suppliers like true partners that were able to bounce back faster. Transactional relationships fall apart in times of disruption. In many cases, we found that applying one size fits all solution didn't work. So instead, we focus on customizing our approach based on each client's unique supply chain setup. For instance, when one client faced a major supplier fallout, we didn't just offer a replacement vendor. We did a full assessment of their sourcing dependencies, fulfillment model, and lead time risk. Then we tailored a short term. That's why we have trial services. And then after having a trial services, we will shift to a long-term solution. And that long-term solution will be customized again based on what we learned from the trial period, which included diversifying suppliers, rerouting inbound shipments, and redesigning their receiving schedules.
And what tactics or frameworks helped us weather the storm?
Well, for me as a logistics expert, it's logistics flexibility. As you mentioned during the pandemic, it's the logistics who really the backbone who delivers
Mhm.
the goods to our consumers, I made sure our clients never relied on a single courier or route or warehouse configuration. We assess their unique logistics bottlenecks, whether it was port congestion, limited dock availability, or slow last mile delivery, and customize our solutions accordingly. For some, this meant creating multi-node fulfillment setups, while for others, it was about negotiating 3PL service line agreement or designing inbound scheduling workflows. Demand planning back in 2020 during my time at Human Heart Nature or Gandang Kalikasan, we were hit by the first wave of COVID as mentioned earlier. Our top selling products at that time were sanitizer and soap, which saw a sudden surge in demand. We had to adjust our demand planning almost daily and quickly, and including our sourcing strategy to secure raw material amidst of the tightening global supply. We started using short rolling forecasts, layering in local mobility trends and supplier capacity checks. Later on, I carried this experience into Move Supply Chain, where we help DTC clients build planning rhythms that respond to their specific SKU behavior, and supply reliability in real time. And another thing is strategic onboarding. That's very important to me. The success client onboarding to Move. At Move, we implemented client onboarding SOPs that ensured we understood from inbound process, lead time, even the sourcing, new product development, and escalation points before day one. And another thing is transparent communication. During delays, I prioritize proactive clients updates. We always say to over report to a client, which actually strengthen long-term relationship. Again, we cannot make a real-time decision making without real-time data.
And that I think is our biggest advantage in
Mm-hmm.
Move is that unlike other agencies or other businesses wherein you offer a certain product or service and it's like you have to do it until the end of the service,
Mm-hmm.
for us it keeps on changing.
Yeah.
Even if it has to change talents,
Mm-hmm.
change our package,
Mm-hmm.
it's very quick. Do you also notice, all in all, supply chain is very fast paced, but
Yeah.
in DTC, in e-commerce, it's faster
Yeah.
than
Correct.
our corporate experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were like in corporate, we have more budget. We have the company has money to buy like a longer stocks
Mm-hmm.
for us. Like I'm for oils before, I'm maintaining 90 days minimum.
Yeah.
But for e-commerce, we also have to, even if we do forecasting,
Mm-hmm.
we have to inform the client if there's like a budget for that, because even if you're really good in
Yeah.
forecasting, if they don't have cash to buy
Yeah.
or pay deposit, then there's no good forecast to that. So it's always also connected
Yeah.
to making sure that we are communicating
Correct.
consistently with our with our clients, knowing what are their limitations. Of course, we're happy if they can buy whatever
Mm-hmm.
PO request that we
Oh yeah.
can, but in reality, they don't have that
Yeah.
very flexible cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
And how was your thinking evolved around forecasting, warehouse or supplier management?
Okay. We now see warehousing not just as storage, Lara, but as a value driver for conversion. Forecasting is more scenario based, using live data feeds and supplier management. It's all about partnership maturity. We don't just evaluate cost anymore. We look at their resilience, capacity to scale, and willingness to collaborate. It's more about business relationship.
Did you notice a difference in relationship building from your experience before and now in e-commerce?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like for example, well, as you mentioned, I started building the logistics service here. So it's the relationship that I do have with the partners, freight forwarder partner, I was able to bring that here in Move Supply Chain, and they know. And I told them that we're catering startup business, but would you believe that in one of the brands that we're handling, which is Baboon to the Moon, they were even granted us a 30 days net 30 for freight forwarding and even to customs duty. Would you that's a big, a thing for a startup company, that they were granted a 30 days credit term for freight and even paying for their customs duty, because they could allot their money to what's important to the business at that time.
Yeah. I think also like discussing the recent we've been discussing COVID-19 because that was the toughest experience for everyone. But recently, especially for US brands, US clients, the recent tariff,
Yeah.
imagine having 100 plus reciprocal tariff plus 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 plus, then a lot of our a lot of our clients like just hold they just hold everything in China because
Yeah.
transferring them to US will not only not break even, but they will lose money for that. So I think it's logistics still play a very huge role there because they started holding out, they started pausing. And so what as you've mentioned, your freight forwarder offered net
Yeah.
30 or net 60, which is not normal in a situation, a PDC situation. But I think that's where the relationship also forms, that
Yes.
when there's one challenge or there's a disruption, other
Yes.
partners can also provide support.
Yeah.
And same thing, I mean, vendors also, that's why I keep sharing, try to negotiate your unit cost, your FOB cost to your vendors, because
Yeah.
they might be able to support you.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of asking.
Correct.
Now let's look ahead. What trends or shift should we be paying attention right now?
Yeah, it's very important that that you're up to date. You know what's happening, and right now, number one for me is the sustainability is growing in both consumer and investor conversations. More brands are asking about carbon offsets, reusable packaging, and sustainable sourcing. AI is number one, and automation are also big. At Move, we're now integrating low cost automation and AI tools for forecasting. This not only increase accuracy but also boost confidence in expansion planning. And another thing is nearshoring and localized warehousing are also accelerating. We're helping clients in the US analyze whether it's more cost effective to place their fulfillment center on the East Coast or West Coast based on factors like customer density, shipping lead times, and carrier rate zones. This kind of tailored analysis helps reduce last mile costs and improve delivery lead time, reliability, especially for brands scaling into new regions. And another thing is speed and transparency remain critical. We're doubling down on real-time visibility. I always kept on telling this since I started our podcast, that you cannot do a real-time decision making without a real-time visibility, from advanced shipment notice updates to live inventory tracking to meet those expectations, Lara.
And what would be your number one piece of advice for DTC founders trying to future proof their supply chains?
Okay, for me, treat your supply chain as your brand differentiator. Don't view it as a back-end cost center, whether it's your unboxing experience, your delivery promise, or your return process. Those are all extensions of your brand story. Partner with people who treat it that way too.
When you say treat your supply chain as your brand differentiator, that's very powerful. How else can you support or like, if you can further explain that to our listeners, how can they make it like a brand differentiator?
Yeah, for example, in freight cost optimization, you could even actually sell your product. I mean, you can even more profitability if you have a strong logistics team analyzing the cost efficiency, cost effectivity of your cost of goods. So it's very important that you have a well experienced logistics team. You invest with those people rather than seeing them as a cost drivers to your business. Treat them as part of your same with your marketing team, same with your sales team. They can definitely, make your brand profitable if you would just really check them, if you just really treat your supply chain as, part of your growing business.
As we always say, supply chain should pay for itself.
Yeah, where's always an ROI, Lara. I mean, like for example, for Baboon, no, I'm one of their talents, but we know that that I have a premium rates, but they still opt to the owner still opted me to keep because I am able to provide value to their organization, more cost savings, nor more more net credit term for the suppliers. And if all the owners think that way and hiring high caliber supply chain talents, that would be beneficial for the company.
And there were so many projects that when the unit cost is the problem or the tariff is the problem, we have to find savings in our end-to-end supply chain. Now we started to find savings in logistics that we don't usually look into. Even the warehouse at this point, I remember one of our client tweeted us because because he was able to really lower down the cost of his warehousing with the packaging, etc. Because again, it's when you don't ask for it, you wouldn't, or your partner in warehouse and 3PL will not proactively share those information. And so keep asking because you might be able to uncover a lot of savings from those projects. And
Correct.
I think the major lesson here is whatever disruption we are going to face in the future, whether hopefully not another major disruption or just tariff or just power interruption, simple problems like out of stock raw materials, we should be looking at our supply chain as a big one department where one category supports the other. Like logistics is connected with warehousing, sourcing is connected, and new product development is connected with inventory planning, and all those should be working together properly. Right. The supply chain will always be moving, definitely, and that's why conversations like this matter. If you're listening and thinking, how do I apply this to my business? You don't have to figure it out yourself. That's exactly what we're doing here. So don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share Supply Chain Moves. And if you have a question or want to work with our team, head over to movesupplychain.com. And until next time, keep making moves that matter. Thank you, Claude.
Thank you so much, Lara, for having me today. It's a pleasure.